science of stress and the mind-body connection. The process of stress can start in the brain when stressful conditions release a surge of hormones in our body, so the brain part of the hypothalamus reacts to that stress by sending signals. It is necessary to know what happens in your body and how your mind will help you understand the mechanism behind stress prevention and stress reduction skills. Many unwanted life events or situations can cause stress. It is often triggered when someone experiences something new or unexpected, which can threaten our sense of self, or when we have less control over any situation. For instance, stress and the big bear. If someone is in the wild and encounters a bear, it can trigger the stress response in the body. The fight or flight response. The fight or flight response is an automatic physiological response to an event that is recognized as stressful or frightening. The perception of danger initiates the sympathetic nervous system and triggers an acute stress response that prepares the body for fight or flight. The physiological responses linked with fight or flight can be critical in surviving genuinely threatening situations. So this fight or flight response phenomenon helps us survive physical danger. Stress also disrupts homeostasis. It is defined as the physiological and emotional limits at which the body functions efficiently and comfortably, but when stress removes, the body returns to homeostasis. Tend and befriend responses. The human stress response has been associated physiologically and behaviorally with fight or flight. Although fight or flight may characterize the primary physiological responses to stress, for both males and females, behaviorally, female responses are more marked by a pattern known as tend and befriend. Women respond to stress with brain chemicals that encourage them to bond with other women. It builds on the biobehavioral attachment and caregiving processes that depend partly on oxytocin, estrogen, and other hormones. The secretion of hormones like oxytocin is the primary reason why women don't exhibit the fight-or-flight tendency as frequently. Oxytocin can induce anti-stress-like effects, involving lowering cortisol levels and blood pressure. It plays a crucial part in homeostasis, balancing the body's biological systems and contributing to body relaxation after stress. By implementing the fight response, men can respond to stress with a higher level of proactivity. On the other hand, women are well equipped to calm, share, alleviate loneliness, and offer support in times of distress. It has been observed that females live longer than men, as biological differences help to explain women's longer lifespan. Estrogen in females combats different conditions like heart disease by helping reduce the circulatory level of cholesterol. Estrogen also has an antioxidant role, so it helps to maintain a normal, stress-free, healthy life. Thus, estrogen helps women to live a longer life by preventing heart diseases by lowering the level of cholesterol and its antioxidant properties. Physiology responses to stress. When the stress response is initiated, immediate and decisive changes occur because of the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is a component of the peripheral nervous system that regulates involuntary body processes, including heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, digestion, and sexual arousal. The autonomic nervous system has two main divisions: 1. Sympathetic, 2. Parasympathetic. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for initiating the fight-or-flight response. The parasympathetic nervous system is designed to return the physiology to a state of homeostasis. After the autonomic nervous system receives information about the body and the external environment, it responds by stimulating body processes, usually through the sympathetic division, or inhibiting them through the parasympathetic division. The hypothalamus is a very small nuclear mass at the base of the third ventricle in the diencephalon. The autonomic nervous system is controlled by the hypothalamus. It is a chief region for coordinating sympathetic and parasympathetic activities. It also plays an essential role as an alarm system that delivers a message through the nervous system. It also delivers a message to the endocrine system to initiate the secretion of hormones. The adrenal glands produce stress hormones. For example, the adrenal medulla releases epinephrine and norepinephrine into the bloodstream. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are similar chemicals that act as neurotransmitters and hormones in the body. Both hormones are essential in the body's fight or flight response. Cortisol is released from the adrenal cortex. The fight-or-flight emergency response is usually inappropriate in today's social world. In short, we need to control our stress response to be effective daily. We must keep it under control for a long time to avoid the consequences of burnout and poor health. Acute stress occurs during a particular time or event and is primarily associated with any incident. Acute stress helps us to generate great strength, focus more clearly, increase our speed, and perform at a higher level. Acute stress lasts for only 30 to 90 seconds. Chronic stress, on the other hand, is ongoing. It usually occurs when the stress response stays in the on position longer than necessary to escape danger, and nearly all body processes are disrupted. For example, the death of a loved one can cause signs of stress for a longer time and is considered as chronic stress. Although stress is not listed among the top 10 causes of death in the United States, it is linked to many illnesses, as stress may not cause problems but may contribute to problems. General adaptation syndrome is a term coined by Hans Selye. He named this syndrome based on observations of the physiologic responses of rats to chronic stress. Selye theorized that the same pattern of changes occurs in the body in reaction to any kind of stress, eventually leading to disease conditions. There are 3 stages of Selye's general adaptation syndrome. 1. Alarm. It is stated that homeostasis is disrupted and body systems are activated. If the stress ceases, homeostasis is restored. 2. Resistance. If the stressor continues, the body mobilizes its internal resources to return to homeostasis. But because the perception of a threat still exists, the body does not achieve complete homeostasis. 3. Exhaustion. If the stress continues long enough, the body can no longer function normally. Organ systems may fail, and the body breaks down in various ways. For example, if you prepare for an exam, you experience an initial alarm reaction. If you understand the material, study for the exam, and do well, you stress. The body recovers and dissipates stress. But if you are unprepared and fail the exam, you trigger the resistance stage and stay there until the next exam. If you continue to fail exams, you will eventually enter the exhaustion stage. Stress responses and you. In case you are thinking about your experience of stress, use the FIT formula. This formula has the following parts: frequency, how often is your stress response triggered; intensity, how severe or intense is your stress response when it is triggered; time or duration, how long is the stress response activated. Thus, if you want to determine your stress level, then you can focus on frequency, intensity, and time of stress to understand level of stress. Time tip. When you dread a task, start by doing it for just 10 minutes. You can usually convince yourself to work on it for 10 minutes. It is remarkable if you can continue past 10 minutes and finish the task. Otherwise, come back another 10 minutes later. Mind-body connection. Physical and emotional health are intimately linked, known as the mind-body connection. Chemistry and biology affect our moods, emotions, thoughts, and beliefs. All these factors combined play a significant role in influencing our stress and physical health. The brain and the peripheral nervous system, the endocrine and immune systems, and indeed all the organs in our body and all our emotional responses share a common chemical language and constantly communicate. Philosopher John Locke once said, "A sound mind in a sound body is a short but full description of a happy state in this world." All of us have different experiences with stress. What happens in our minds determines what happens in our bodies. Psychological health includes emotional and mental health that profoundly impacts physical health. For instance, chronically pessimistic, angry, anxious, or depressed have higher heart disease and cancer rates. It is reported that 22% of Americans experience extreme stress. More adults believe their stress is increasing than gradually decreasing. More than 9 in 10 adults believe that stress can contribute to the development of significant illnesses, and that some types of stress can trigger heart attacks, arrhythmias, and even sudden death. Chronic stress is linked to physical and psychological conditions. Mental health problems are among the most pressing concerns in public health. 5 of the 10 leading health indicators are significantly interrelated with stress. Stress can affect health directly through physiological changes in the body or indirectly through a change in a person's behavior. Direct effects involves the release of hormones by the endocrine system during the alarm reaction stage of the general adaptation syndrome. Indirect effects include that those who experience high stress levels may respond to unhealthy behaviors. Allostatic load refers to the cumulative burden of chronic stress and life events. The body's cumulative physiological wear and tear results from ongoing adaptive efforts to maintain homeostasis in response to stressors. Hormones and other physiological factors that mediate the effects of stress on the body are protective and adaptive effects in the short term. Still, they can accelerate disease processes in a long time. Culture and society also have an impact. Health disparities exist between different racial and social groups in the United States. The allostatic load can help explain the impact of discrimination and economic and emotional health deprivation. Some other important factors like perception, past trauma, and lifestyles. Medium-term chronic stress. There are many effects of medium-term chronic stress, including muscle tension and pain, headaches, fatigue, upset stomach, difficulty sleeping, bruxism, unconsciously grinding or clenching of teeth, cold or sore throat. Effects of medium-term chronic stress on the immune system. Immune system cannot work as effectively when stressed. The body produces natural antibodies to counteract infection on days with positive events. But the worst day will be when fewer antibodies are produced by the body. Cortisol lingers in the body and weakens the body's immune response by lowering the number of lymphocytes and interfering with white blood cells in the blood profile. Stress hinders the immune system's ability to produce and maintain lymphocytes and natural killer cells. Impaired immunity makes the body more susceptible to many diseases. Happy and relaxed people are more resistant to illness than those who tend to be unhappy or tense. Work-related severe or personal stress that lasts at least a month increases the chances of catching a cold. So the immune system cannot work as effectively when you are stressed. The rates of respiratory infection and clinical colds increase dose response with the extent of psychological stress. Stressful events that cause the release of certain hormones can make you forget things you know. Normal memory function returns when the levels of stress hormones return to normal. Long-term chronic stress. Evidence suggests a relationship between the risk of cardiovascular disease and environmental and psychosocial factors. Mental stress increases oxygen demand because blood pressure and heart rate are elevated. Vascular resistance and coronary artery constriction during mental stress decrease the blood supply. These necessary events occur when stress affects the heart. Blood flow to the heart muscle decreases. Blood tends to clot more easily. Chronically high cortisol levels may affect cardiac health by promoting inflammation that causes heart attacks. These conditions lead to cardiovascular diseases. Prolonged stress can shorten cells' lifespan and open the door to infections. Chronic inflammation plays a role in many diseases. High levels of stress can trigger a large number of other diseases and conditions. Men who reported permanent stress have a 45% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes than men who reported no periodic stress. Thus, stress results in the resistance to insulin, which causes type 2 diabetes. Psychosomatic illnesses are physical parts of an illness that can be affected by mental factors. This is difficult to diagnose. A person can literally talk himself into a headache by thinking stressful thoughts. Culture connection. Karoshi. It is a major social issue in Japan. It leads to death from diseases and some mental illnesses caused by overwork. In 2021, WHO estimated that long working hours kill more than 745,000 people annually. Victims included an average of over 80 hours of work per week. Many Japanese workers are finding options to help relieve the strain. To combat this, the Japanese use ayashi, a mixture of healing, calming, and getting close to nature. It may make relaxation in case of more complex conditions. Should a worker sacrifice personal well-being for the company? Obsession with work is often seen as a virtue in Japanese culture, and weariness is a sign of weakness. How mind and body communicate. The placebo effect is a phenomenon whereby an inactive substance or treatment is used to determine how the power of suggestion affects the psychology, physiology, or biochemistry of experimental participants. Healthcare providers have long understood the impact of the placebo effect. The related nocebo effect explains the causation of sickness and death by expectations of these adverse outcomes and associated emotional states. Psychoneuroimmunology. It refers to the complex communications between and among the nervous system, the psyche, and the immune system, and their health implications. Psychoneuroimmunology involves the hormones and neurotransmitters released under stress that can change immune cell behavior. Cells have receptors to hear the signals, allowing the nervous, endocrine, and immune systems to talk. In this way, the body is affected by whatever the mind experiences, and the mind is affected by what the body experiences.